Welcome to Circle of Hearts Radio. Journey with Grandmother Alaya as she enters her magical world of relics, sacred sites, and ancient crystal skulls. Meet with exciting trailblazer authors and individuals shifting the consciousness of humanity. Send her your questions to be answered on air on her monthly segment, Ask the Oracle. And now your host, Grandmother Alaya, in the sanctuary on the airwaves on OMTimes Radio.
Welcome to the Circle of Hearts Radio, your sanctuary of enlightenment on the airwaves on IOM-FM. I am your host, Alaya. Today in my home on the East Coast of the United States, it's wet, dreary, cold, and what a perfect day to talk about the paranormal. So make yourself comfortable as I get to introduce you to a really exciting author. One who actually, through divine guidance or spirit, brought her to my attention because she's really, her unique way of writing causes you to look deeper into the stories. A little bit later, well, first off, I'm going to want to introduce you to Anne E. Burley. She's a novelist, a screenwriter, an artist. Now, these are just generic terms to briefly label her multi-talents. She's so creative, and she has such a unique way of writing that when you pick up one of her books, you're immediately drawn in. And all right, now I'm getting zoned out again. All right. And Anne, let me bring you. Oh, no, I was going to hold on, Anne. I want to give a little bit of background. I told you my thought processes come in and out, and people that get to know me after a while realize I'm always being clairvoyant. I'm bringing in a lot of information. So bear with me when I zone out for a second. I like to give you a little background how I came across Dan. A friend recommended, she said, you have to read this book, The Command. Now, in this lifetime, I could say I've really read thousands of books, and usually I take parts of the books that I want and, learn from, and I never really connect deeply with the authors. But I looked at the book, The Command, and I thought, this is an interesting title. It kind of pulled you in. It's a very strange energy. So I went to the Amazon page, Anne Burley's Amazon page, and I got the book. And as I read it, I'm going, there's more to this. This is not just a fictional story. There's something else going on here, and I needed to contact her. I'm going, is this channeled? Is this parallel lives? Is this autobiographical? Is it multidimensional? And, getting to know Anne, I'm going, it's a very fascinating lady. We're going to, in a little bit, focus on only one of her books. I've read another one, Paint and Canvas, which has that same energy. It draws you in right in the beginning. But we don't have time for this today. So, only one of her novels, The Command, directly deals with the paranormal, which is inspired by true events. Psychic intuitive experiences has been normal for Anne's entire life and played important parts in her developing career. Now, let me bring on Anne E. Burley herself. Hi, Anne. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing fine. I'm sorry I interrupted you previously.
Well, that's okay because, like I said, being a channel and clairvoyant, all of a sudden I'll zone out and I have to really regroup when I get these quiet moments. So, you could you zone out. This is no problem. Break in so we don't have dead air.
We'll get there.
I know, I know, I know. Like I said, I've really gotten a chance to know you. And, I've told you this after I read the book, and I've recommended this book, The Command, to many
Hmm.
of my friends because it's a great book to curl up with, when you have time. You start on the first page and it draws you in. So even the title, The Command, I thought it was so simple. And I'm going, well, I don't know if I would normally, just by seeing the title, you know, find that book. But now I can definitely really, really connect with it. It has a power in its own, in its own self.
Now that you know the story behind it, behind the title and why it
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
it, it's very powerful. And getting into the subject of the command, of this book, how did you how did you come to write it? Write it. I mean, there's an actual, to the listeners listening out there. I went to the page, the host page and whatever that we have on IOM. There's
Hmm.
an actual headstone in Massachusetts. Now you're from Canada. How did
I'm
this
from
come about?
Canada. Well, I was on a brief holiday in Cape Ann, Massachusetts, and wandering around in Rockport, and we happened upon, I was with my ex-husband at the time, and we came upon this old colonial burying ground. And wandering around there, we happened upon the graves of three sisters side by side from 1700s, Hephzibah Cleveland and her sisters Abigail and Alice. And from the very first moment that we happened upon the grave sites, I had the strongest sense of the three of them, but most especially with Hephzibah, who died in 1789. And for months and years afterward, I had the strongest sense of this bitter and angry young woman who had felt overlooked in life, and that she wanted somebody to pay attention to her and to hear her story, her side of things. And that was how it began, just an innocent trip into an old cemetery.
And it's really interesting. Out of all the areas, you chose that particular area, and what made you decide to visit a gravesite? I mean, a cemetery. I happen to like cemeteries. I mean, a lot of people might find that weird, but I find them fascinating because they're
Yeah.
pieces of history, right? History right there.
Well, I suspect it was the very old headstones, and it was just a very small burying ground. It's kind of engulfed in houses that were built up afterwards and small businesses. It almost certainly wasn't my ex-husband who, who wanted to go in. It was more my thing, and so we just went in on a whim, or we can call it a whim, but maybe maybe it wasn't so accidental after all, as it turned out. And from that first moment when this Hephzibah seemed to reach out from 2 centuries ago and grabbed a hold of my mind, we went back multiple times, both when I was with my husband and after we split up. Um, just it wouldn't let go. And coming from Canada to a burying ground in Massachusetts, I don't think it's the normal way to spend a long weekend, for sure.
Well, it depends. It depends. It depends who you're talking to.
Well, yeah, not in my family, let's say.
Well, in my family, it's very normal because I do these things. So that's why I said it. It
I
really
think I
kind of
got the
depends.
maybe I had the wrong mother.
But it goes, what all things also led, to this journey? I mean, you went to the gravesite. You were drawn out of all. I mean, I saw this picture of we talked I talked to one of my friends who happens to live in Massachusetts, Karen, and we
Mhm.
connected with Anne, and I said, Karen, go there. You know, so she's great. She got her camera and a friend, and they went there and they took some pictures. And Anne has some pictures of the grave, the actual grave, and it does. It has that thing has a commanding presence. It's not possession. It just grabs your attention, and it's like, oh, I want to know more, or what is what's going, what's happening here? Why are they pulling us in? And it's not scary. I mean, I think we've all evolved to the point of getting to the point of we realize, possession is not, something always misunderstood. It's misunderstood, and as our psychic senses develop, we we realize that we're picking up on things multidimensional. So before we really go into the next question, we're going to be, shortly taking a break here. And what
Mhm.
I want the listeners to do is, grab some paper, some pencil, and, think of, well, as we're going on to this story, like I say, Anne has a lot of great books, but we're focusing on the command today. Write the questions down and then go to the Circle of Hearts at IOM, FM, the program page. Anne's information is there and her links to our Amazon page, and make contact with her. If you have a question about the book, get it. It's really fascinating, and her whole journey that leads up to this. So hold on, Anne, and we'll be back. And everybody,
Okay.
get some paper, pencil, and start thinking, and get be prepared for our next part of the segment.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Simone Milasas would like you to know that business can be fun, which is why she wrote the book, Joy of Business. What if you could have the joy of business rather than the stress and struggle? Most of the time, the only thing stopping you from a thriving business is you. In the Joy of Business book, Simone gives you access consciousness tools and pragmatic ways to get out of your own way and to create the business, life, and living you know is possible and beyond what this reality says is achievable. Business is joy. It's creation. It's generative. It can be the adventure of living. You can purchase your copy of the book through Amazon or Joy of Business website, www.accessjoyofbusiness.com.
Hi, my name is Monica and I'm the host of Co-Creating Now. Give yourself an opportunity to connect with your all-knowing higher self and manifest joy, love and peace together every Tuesday 11 a.m. Eastern.
The Conscious Parenting Radio Show provides inspiration and resources for loving, empowering, and respecting your children and yourself. Join me, Timothy, every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we consciously explore proven ways of living together in happiness, health, and harmony.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, we're back. And before, I just remembered the question that I was going to ask you before I zoned out in the prior segment. To get people to to really get a feel of you, have you always had this psychic sense?
I think I probably always have, but when I was young, I didn't even know that such a thing existed or was possible. So I would say that the strange things that were happening to me as a child and a young adult, I didn't label them as psychic intuitive. It was just me being me.
Hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people experience that, and they don't have any idea what's going on. It's very natural. The problem is the people around us are looking at us and saying, "Okay, they don't really quite fit into the norm here." You know?
No, that's that's true. I never really did quite fit in. No.
So, did would you say your awareness of your intuitiveness led you to writing to express yourself?
You had mentioned that possibility, but I would say it's hard to know which thread to pull to know which came first. I think they were always interconnected and interwoven, and it was my sensitivity that made me perhaps pick up on story and latch on to certain ideas and run with them. Um, I would say that they're very interwoven, and it's hard to know which came first in this case.
Yeah, it's like the proverbial which came first, the chicken or the egg?
The chicken or the egg. I think they're very much interwoven because I was always the sensitive child, happening
Hmm.
to be alone or with a book, and that I was writing from quite a young age actually. First little stories, short stories, and then poetry, and then in my mid 20s, the idea that I could maybe write a novel took over, and I went from there,
I'm really glad
making
you
novels.
followed. Yeah, I'm really glad you followed your heart on that because you're very unique. You really are. I know I said that once to you before, and you go, "Oh, what are you trying to say to me here?" No, I've many people that read many books. You pick up a book, you read, maybe you'll read a little bit about the author, but you don't connect necessarily the story with the author. And, through you, my perception of books and authors have changed. Now I see that the two are so linked that it's an expression of your whole being. It's an expression of all facets of your light. There's a lot going on here. So, even in reading your book, I mean, after I read the command, I immediately got, paint and canvas. I go, well, maybe the command was a one-time thing, and nope, she still has that same writing technique. So, this is truly very, very interesting, and that's why I'm so glad, that you came on and giving people a chance to get to know you. So now getting back to the command, which we're going to focus a little bit on today because
Sure.
the weather's set the stage here. It's raining and cold and
Ooh.
dreary, and I'm bundled up here, and I'm going, okay, this is the greatest day to talk about paranormal.
Spirits are walking the earth.
Yeah, that's for sure. But why did you not write Heseba's full story within the command? But only little bits. I mean, is it an evolving story or?
Well, the main reason I didn't write her full life story is I didn't feel it was ethical to do so without having witnessed it firsthand, as the lead character Janet does in the story by going back in time. I I was shown bits of Hephzibah's life, intuitively, psychically, however you want to say it, and I did include those as well as the sense I had of her relationship with two of her sisters. Um, I did fictionalize other elements, though, and some of those that I fictionalized turned out after the fact to be true, historically true. But as you know, the relationship with Hephzibah is definitely unfinished business, and if I ever have some volunteers who want to go with me, I'll go and go at night and sit at her grave, and see if she will appear and take me back in time.
Yeah, I don't know if
I've
my friend Karen's listening, but I think you've got two raised hands here. Yes. I think I'd be scared. So, I mean, I've seen so many things, paranormal things in my life, but I have to admit, something about staying in a graveyard in Massachusetts at nighttime, I think might be even a little bit, for me.
Well,
But
I have been at her grave in the middle of the night, just so that I could accurately describe it for the novel,
hmm
and I was scared out of my wits. I don't know if I was picking up the paranormal or if I was just nervous at the very thought of it, but there was definitely energy there. I didn't stay long enough for Hefzibah to show up, so uh, I think I'd need a backup team like Charlie's Angels or something.
no, I think so too. It's like, or else on the Poltergeist, we'll tether that rope around you. We'll have a team to pull you back out of
Yeah,
the TV screen here.
if she takes me back in time, and you have to get me back to to the here and now. Yeah.
Yeah, the being taken back in time. Now, for a person like me, I see multi layers, multi dimensions. So that's what I brought up to you, parallel lives. The way the story is so strong and so strongly interlinked that the reader, in my case, is you're reading this and it's like you're jumping between timelines. It doesn't seem like fiction. It doesn't seem like, okay, well, how could this could maybe happen. No, you're there. You're in the midst of it. You're sweating it out. On some of these things. I mean, it's a definite page turner. And
Well, it's based on the truth. There's no doubt about that. I wouldn't have written it if I hadn't experienced it.
yeah, and that's kind of scary. I mean, that's not scary. I mean, that's where the title comes in, the command. It's such a simple title, but boy, it really, really pulls you in. you know,
Well, that was me receiving the command from Hefzibah that she wanted somebody to pay attention and tell her story and let her be known to the world, and here she is making her radio debut. So
yeah,
I guess
she's on. She wanted to
yeah,
be
she
known to
got
the
her way.
world, and here
She
she
got her
is.
way. Yeah, and I guess that's because I paid attention to her command, which of course I didn't hear out loud. It was very much a psychic intuitive type of thing. But
Now,
boy, she wouldn't let me go.
now
She just
people,
wouldn't let me
yeah, I was going to say, we always say that, there's always choice. At any point did you say to yourself, "No, I'm not going to do
go. No, it
this"?
was too much fun.
You had no misgivings, or even did you ever get really frightened? Frightened,
I would say the only time I felt frightened by her presence or her energy would be that night when I actually went into the cemetery by myself, and nobody knew I was there. I was there on my own in Cape Ann at that time. But other than that, no. Um,
Would
she definitely wanted my attention.
would you say
Go ahead.
that you're Janet, the main character?
Oh, she's definitely partly me. No question about it. There are elements of me in her, and you write. They say write what you know.
Mm.
So I think all of my main characters in all of my books have a little bit of me
Yeah, I
within
thought
them.
I thought that's similar of Paint and Canvas. When I was reading that, because you do restorative art also,
Hmm.
and that book,
Oh, that's true.
I'm going,
I hadn't
there
even
she
thought
is.
about that.
Yeah, I'm going, there she is again. So, like I said, it's really fascinating. Have, when you're writing, did you have any hesitancy? I mean, you had it. Did you do a lot of research? I have so many questions on the part where they try to going through Salem, through the stores,
Oh,
finding the right person. I mean, I don't want to give
oh,
away a
yeah.
lot of parts of this book because I'm fascinated. I've read it a few times since.
With the materializing of a
Right.
certain character into physical form. Yes, I did do some research on that, definitely. Um, you should see my bookshelves full of ghost books and psychic books and so on. So yes, that required some research. It's not something I've personally experienced.
Well, you
Um,
may one day. Yeah,
I
so,
may, yeah. And the funny thing is that a lot of what I wrote as fiction is turning out to be true. And as I might have mentioned to you, the most notable of this is that I wrote the character of Brian,
hmm
and always felt that he was a real person. And I tried to find him by the internet because I always had the sense he existed somewhere. And quite a few years afterwards, a man came into my life, and I was rereading the command one day, and I thought, gee, that sounds an awful lot like so and so. So I reread the whole manuscript and jotted down all the identical or similar traits, and I filled a table 4 pages long, a typed table with similarities and identical traits between the character Brian and this man who'd come into my life. So it's almost
yes.
as if I'd written him
So this
before
is
he came into my life.
yeah, this is that's really fascinating. I want to hold on to this thought as we enter into the our next segment break of how
Okay.
coincidences, and you know why I'm using the word coincidences and
Yes.
different effects.
Synchronicities.
Correct. But holding on to this thought, we're going to be entering into a new break, and I hope the readers are finding listeners. See, I'm a reader already here. Listeners are finding it as fascinating learning about this as I enjoyed reading this book. S- So, again, I advise the listeners, please get a paper pen handy and be ready to jot down some information at the end of the show about where to get this book.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake. Join Elliot Jollish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jollish Hour as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jollish Hour.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Well, welcome back. And now getting back to Brian. Were
Yes.
you surprised when there was actually a physical Brian in this world?
Surprised and delighted because I thought, so I've just invented this character. He can't be real, but had the strongest sense that he was somewhere. Um, but the degree to which I had known ahead of time or written this man was stunning. You know, things like the fact the name of his best friend was the same,
Hmm.
the fact that he drove a black pickup truck, on and on and on. The list goes of identical and similar traits and circumstances
But that's
between.
almost like it's almost as if you were seeing again a parallel. If you tapped into it, a parallel life that was going on at the same time. Because when we talk about multi dimensions, it's like many different levels of awareness or lives going on in, and you can experience them in the now. I know
Hmm.
that's kind of expansive thinking, but just how you picked up these details, there's got to be something to it.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I was stunned when I saw this. You know, I hadn't even realized it when I met this man, the real man in life. I hadn't realized right away that, oh, gee, I wrote this guy years ago, until I started rereading the command, and I thought, gee, that sounds an awful lot like this man. And sure enough.
And just before we get back into coincidences, for
Or
the listeners,
synchronicities.
because of some nerve damage I have in my face, it's very difficult for me to say certain words. So Anne and I have this word, coincidences, and then she says the right word. So that's the private joke
Synchronicities.
that we're experiencing here. Does Hesper still appear to you? Do you think there's more that's going to she's going to show you?
I do believe so. I don't believe my interaction with Hefzibah is over. For instance, you mentioned your friend Karen, who was going to visit the cemetery, the burying ground where Hefzibah is supposedly resting. Um, and I was so upset that somebody else was able to go, knowing the story, the command, and I wasn't able to go, and I was really kind of feeling upset and left out. And that night, quite out of the blue, literally, um, Hefzibah, I must assume it was Hefzibah. She knew how upset I was.
Hmm.
Um, and her blue light appeared in my apartment quite unexpectedly. It's the first time it's ever happened, um, but a very strong flash of blue that didn't have any earthly,
Hmm.
shall we say, explanation or reason appeared in my apartment. So I think she was picking up on how I was feeling, and also if you read the command, you know Hefzibah is a little bit of a strong-willed woman, a
Oh, yeah.
strong-willed character, and um, she Hefzibah showed me in my mind's eye that she was going to make Karen trip or stumble in the cemetery. So after Karen had been to the cemetery, I, not knowing Karen, uh, or only barely have just been introduced, I asked her without telling her why I was asking, "Did you by any chance trip or stumble in the cemetery?" And she said yes, she had, but she has a history of, you know, tripping and stumbling from time to time, and didn't think anything of it. And so I told her why I had asked, and
What did she
I think it
say?
was well, Karen said yes, she had tripped, and she just assumed it was her natural predisposition
Hmm.
to clumsiness. But I said no, I was shown this ahead of time before you even went to the cemetery. I knew this was going to happen, but I kept my mouth shut just to see if it actually would, if I was actually picking up on something by precognition or, looking into the future. And sure enough, Hefzibah is quite a character. And
Yeah, I'm. like I said, for our listeners, if you really, I know I keep on bringing this particular book up because it really is a good read, and it also allows you to see things in a different light. It's not a flat dimensional read. You enter, you go on a journey, and it's a multidimensional journey as I see it. You're in the now, you're in the past, and a lot of things are, there's a lot of layers, a lot of happening, and it keeps you going. And also, like she said, Hesba is a strong character. You get so involved with her, you can't put this book down. Now, I'm not going to go in too much more into this book because I want you to be able to read it. It's really enjoyable. And I think it's almost like a template for other writers, as they are allowing their intuitive abilities or their awakening abilities to come out, to incorporate different aspects of themselves in books. So we'll kind of move on from the command, even though I love it. But I want to get into there's also coincidences as far as your screenplays go. Can
Oh
you
my goodness.
elaborate a little bit about that?
Well, I can start by saying I had never planned to write a screenplay. Never, ever, ever. I always hoped my books would become movies, but I always assumed somebody else would be writing the script for the movie.
Hmm.
But all of that changed in April of 2008 when I had a extremely powerful dream about a young actor who previously had barely registered in my consciousness. But sometimes I have dreams that stand out from others, and I had the sense this time to say, why did I dream about this guy? I don't even know his name. Um, so I spent the next couple of weeks researching the actor online and discovered a lot of things in common with me. And a couple of weeks after the dream, also, I was sitting quietly in my living room, not quite meditating, but your mind is drifting.
Hmm.
And I had a vision of this actor that swam into my consciousness. And first it was his eyes, which were very, very intense, and then his face, and then it was like pulling focus, and I saw all of him standing in a bull ring in Spain. And I knew immediately, right away, that that image or vision was the seed of a screenplay that I was meant to write for him, set in the world of Spanish bullfighting. So that's how it began. And I knew nothing about bullfighting. I'd never even seen a movie script, so sure didn't know how to write one. But I knew without question that it was something I was meant to do. And go ahead.
No, no, no. I was going to say,
Oh,
and it, I saw parts of your blog on it. Have you completed the screenplay? Because again,
oh my
your
goodness,
way
yes.
of writing, even on the blog, it draws you in. And I know at that part, the blog wasn't completely finished. I wrote you and go, where's the rest? I want to know more.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for the
Well,
next
the
installment.
yeah, I spent the next year from 2008 to 2009 learning how to write a screenplay, learning about bullfighting. And yes, I sent it off to Hollywood, and strange things happened.
Like what?
you
Like
know,
what? Please share.
well, in the year when I was working on the screenplay, it was a really tough year. And every time I felt my energy or my enthusiasm flagging, I would see signs of bulls or the running of the bulls in Pamplona or images of matadors, anything just to give me a little shove to say, you're on the right path, Anne.
Hmm.
You're on the right path. And every time I'd try and get a job, to get income to keep me going,
Hmm.
um, somehow it seems like the divine stepped in and said, no way, Missy, I gave you a movie to write, so write it. For example, I was hired for a job, but the job moved to another city. I was sent to an interview. The job was already filled. My car broke down when I had to go to an appointment. My internet connection conked out, so I couldn't look for a job. So ultimately, the script did get written, and about a year later, I sent it off to Hollywood. would you like to hear more, or would you like to ask another question?
No, it's you're you really get pushed by spirit. It's nice to say divine guidance, but it just seems like, okay, it's over you, and it's okay. This is what you're going to do, even if, like you said, you get worried and go, really, should I or whatever, and you get that spirit kick. Okay, this is what you're going to do. Keep on going, and as long as you keep on going in the flow or following your heart in it, it all comes together.
Yeah, many times I thought I wouldn't make it, and yet here I still am. There was always something that stepped in and kept me going, whether it was financial support or whether it was just the encouragement I needed. So I sent the script to Hollywood, and talking about divine intervention or whatever, the script arrived in Hollywood on Memorial Day weekend,
Hmm.
and it actually sat on the doorstep of the actor's manager's office until it was brought into the office on Tuesday.
Oh,
Now, this is
wow.
Hollywood, and there have to be thousands of aspiring screenwriters and other movie people, and yet the script stayed there, and it was safe. It was somehow, I don't know, protected. It wasn't picked up off the doorstep. It's just a miraculous thing.
Yeah, so I mean, this is even, I know we're talking about books or whatever, but it's also gives people almost like a testimonial, saying, don't give up, follow your heart. If you have something that really drives you, something, a real passion, that to express yourself, and no matter what kind of media, to do so, because you will
Hmm.
always be supported. So now,
Even, yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I shouldn't have interrupted you. Sorry.
No, no, you're doing one of my zone
Oh,
out
there's
moments
just
here.
so much to say. There's so much to say, and an hour is not nearly enough. But
Yeah, I mean, you were worried about you wouldn't have enough to talk about. Not
yeah.
so. Well, we're going to be heading into our last break. So, again, everybody, if you're interested, make sure you have pencil and paper handy. And so you can write down some information after we'll talk to Anne a little bit more briefly before the end of the show.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know, I tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Well, we're back, Anne. Can you believe we're actually on our last 15-minute segment? And
I
you thought we
know,
wouldn't have enough to talk about?
and so much left to say.
Well,
Even on this story about the screenplay.
Is
Thank
there
you so
something you
much.
want to add? Would you like anything to add about that screenplay?
Well, the strangeness behind it is just uncanny. The fact that I was given, I'm a nobody in Hollywood, and I was basically given white glove treatment. My screenplay was hand carried right into the manager of the actor, and I'm a nobody, but I went somehow right to the top of the heap with this screenplay. It's almost like it was meant to be,
Yeah.
and the actor took an unprecedented personal interest in me, and I'm just an unknown writer, and we ended up communicating multiple times, and it all started with a beautiful letter he wrote, and two-page letter he wrote to me, which, as far as I know, this doesn't happen. Actors to unknown screenwriters, but we ended up being in touch, and we seem to have a connection of some sort. I've freaked him out a few times by knowing things, knowing things about him, and he's been taken aback about how I knew. And there are times when I sense something about him, or something's happening in his life, and it's shortly after it's verified by something I read on internet, for example.
Mm-hmm.
One other weird thing that I'd like to tell you and your listeners
Sure.
about is that when I wrote the script, I had a certain actress in mind for the lead female role.
Right.
And wouldn't you know it, I actually crossed paths with her when she was on a visit to Montreal.
Now
And
that's weird.
I was, yeah, and the one actress, and she's the one I happened to run into, and I was able to actually talk to her about the role, and she contacted her agent on my behalf because she was interested in the role, which is as an animal rights activist, and it turns out she's an animal rights activist in real life, which I had no idea
Wow.
before I wrote this role for her. So the pure synchronicity that put me in the right place at the right time, uh,
It can't
and
be.
if I told you,
It
oh,
said it can't be
go ahead.
denied.
No, it can't be, because if I told you the series of things that led up to me being where I had to be that day to meet her, you have to see that there's a higher guiding hand, definitely in the whole experience.
Yeah, I think that you always keep on calling yourself unknown. Well, I think that's really going to change because it's a fascinating story, and we've only touched upon things, and that's why.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, this hour has gone so quickly. I mean, there's so many facets to Anne, and she's got so many books, and once you start really getting to read them, it, you can see why. We talk about, all these dimensions and parallels and coincidences that brought things to attention, because even it's through coincidences, that's how my attention was brought to Anne, out of the blue. I didn't know Anne from anything, and just a friend had said, "Please read this book," and this started this whole journey with Anne, and it's absolutely fascinating. So, again, please go to the host page and look at the programs on Circle of Hearts Radio at IOM FM, and you'll see Anne's story, her bio, and contact information. And most important, go to her Amazon page and check it out. And I really, read The Command. It's a good read, it's fascinating, and you'll get hooked. And Hesuba, she reaches out to you because she's reached out to me.
and if you don't pay attention, she'll trip you.
She'll trip you, that's for sure. As my friend Karen, I don't know, I think somewhere in the process, the three of us are thinking, we can find ourselves in these characters, the three friends that are in
Yeah,
this story. And one day we just might go, we're in different parts. Karen is in Massachusetts, I'm in New Jersey, and Anne is in
I'm in
Montreal.
up,
And
yep, up
somehow,
here in Canada.
Somehow I think one day we're all going to end up in that graveyard and probably be shaking in our boots.
Hopefully not as permanent residents.
No, I don't want to
Hopefully,
wait that long.
hopefully we'll just be visiting on this
Yes,
side of the grass.
that's for sure. Yeah. I mean, I hope Hesba is listening to this.
Oh, she made herself known last night, by the way.
Oh, she did.
Um, she did, yeah. You know how spirit or ghosts or whatever manifest in different ways, and
Right.
there were I was in my room reading, my bedroom reading, and there were shadows moving in the room. Now I live alone, so there was
Hmm.
no quote logical reason, but I was thinking about her, and that she was going to have her debut today, and I saw these sort of shadows
Hmm.
moving a little bit in my room, so I figure, yeah, she knows somehow.
No,
She
Hesba, I
knows.
was going to say, Hesba, you got your wish. You wanted to be made known to the world. And here you
Yeah.
are on Circle of Hearts Radio,
Yeah.
OM. I mean,
So
on
she can
OMTimes
check that
Media.
off her bucket list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, you can get much better than this.
No, I don't think so. I don't
Yeah,
think
so
so.
I really thank you for coming on today. I mean, I know you didn't think we are going to have anything to talk about, but this has really been fun. And we've only
Well,
touched upon many subjects.
yeah, just
Yes.
barely scratched the surface of all there is.
Yeah, so I'm
Thank you for
hoping,
having me.
yeah, I hope that maybe one day that, that you'll come back and let us know what's happening. And when I watch, TV and you see you accept your Oscar, I'll go, I know her when.
That's it. That's it. Yep.
Okay, so for the last few minutes, I'm just going to give a message, send a message, and talk about next week. And thanks, Anne. Thanks, really.
Well,
It was a lot of
thank you so
fun.
much. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.
Now, this is from my heart to you, the listeners. As you enter the new week, intend to remember who you are, your spark of God's source. Walk your daily path in light and love, and may your words and actions come from your heart. Stand strongly through these intense spiritual awakenings and let your heart reach out to all life. You matter in this world, and you're going to be the ones, no matter what you do in life or what you think about your life, you're going to be the ones that are going to change this world. Purely because you allow yourself to be and bring in the heart energy. I mean, you may say, well, there's people out there, they're mean. Realize these people are hurting and they have their own challenges. You don't have to accept the meanness or the things you don't understand, but just stand strong in your own heart energy and you'll spread your light. And can you imagine all over the world, all these little lights just popping up? And soon it won't be individually, but the whole grid work will be filled with light. And that's because you make the choice to do so. So really remember this and just think on it daily. It's not, just make the intention to come from your heart, and you're going to start seeing a difference in your life. And because you really do matter, because we cannot do this without you. So wherever you are in the world, we're all connected and we all need to reach out to each other and listen to each other and to be open to new ideas and perceptions. And this is why I got involved in this radio station, so that maybe I can bring forth different people to speak to you and to share, because it's all about sharing knowledge. We all respect each other, and there's no one above each other, below each other, in front or in back of each other. We're all the same. So, next week, I want you to join with me on the Circle of Hearts Radio. IOM-FM, as for my Ask the Oracle segment, or Grandmother's Wisdom, because that's a little softer sounding also. So, we're going to kind of go back and forth on this, where I, Grandmother Elia, share the channeled wisdom by answering to listeners' questions. All your questions are important. Right now, how you can contact me is, go to my host page or the program page, and you'll see my contact links. And either, write me. Ask me what's on your mind, because all questions are important. Because if something's on your mind, someone else is thinking the same thing. If someone is saying, well, something about relationships, or, something about finances, or what are crystal skulls, or, what are energy relics, or what about ancient civilization or parallel lives, or whatever, somebody else has the same question. So every question matters, and every question is important. And by going to my host page, you'll see the links where you can contact me. And this is interactive because I decided to do these programs every fourth Sunday or fifth Sunday, however the month goes, as part of my service and my giving back to you listeners. Because in sharing, we all help each other. And it's a beautiful thought to be able to reach out to each other. So please contact me on the Circle of Hearts Radio, IOM FM host page, and I'll look forward to your questions, and have a blessed week. This is very enjoyable, and I hope that you're enjoying the week, these shows with me. Take care, and from my heart to yours, namaste.